today's speaker, Dr. Shibu S. Kottaram. The close people or people know him very well call him Shibu Marsh. Currently, he is working as an assistant professor of School of Drama and Fine Arts, Thrissur. He started his theatre career from childhood by acting as a child artist in different plays in his village. During that period of time when a local library and cultural clubs were active in Kerala, his guide or his well-wisher teacher, Professor G. Shankarapilla, made a huge influence on him to find out his way to theatre. He completed his degree from School of Drama and Fine Arts with a specialization in direction. He did his MA from Pondicherry University, and also he did his PhD and postgraduate diploma in human resource management also from Pondicherry University. He worked as a lecturer in acting, YGP Academy of Acting and Fine Arts, Chennai, lecturer in acting, Pondicherry Film Institute, director, Triple School of Mossy Dance and Film, St. Xavier's Media Institute, Pondicherry, and also he worked as a deputy director of Kerala Chalachitra Academy. As I mentioned earlier, now he's working as an assistant professor, School of Drama and Fine Arts, Thrissur. He's a member in professional and academic bodies like Board of Studies, Calicut University, Kerala University, MG University, Kaladi University, Pondicherry University. He worked as a technical director in International Theatre Festival of Kerala, especially in the first two editions. He also worked as technical director in Niriksha. He got many awards and honors. Twice he won Best Director from Government of Kerala, and 5-time Best Lighting Designer, Kerala Government. He awarded Director of Best Second Best Play, Government of Kerala. He also awarded Kalashri by Government of Kerala. He published 5 plays and also 20 articles on theatre. He served an expert committee member in Sangeeta Nadaga Academy, participated in around many national, international theatre festivals as a director and designer. He directed around 40 plays. Some of them are Swatantrathinte Muruvugal, Kanal Pada, Karnabharam, Spartacus, Urubhangam, Pida Ukta, Ilapuriyum Kalathoru Pular Kalavela. He is actively engaged in practicing theatre as an instrument for social change. With all respect and love, on behalf of School of Drama and Fine Arts, I welcome Dr. Shibu S. Kottaram for today's class. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I am very happy to be here. I thank all my colleagues, Sridhar Ramanan, Sunil, Najmul Shahi, Vinod, Surabhi, Vipin, and special thanks to Sandeep because he promised he'll help uh, to have the presentations. And I welcome all of you are participating here in this course. Thanks, Vipin, for his kind words. And actually, I am practicing theater in the mainstream theater of Kerala for a lot years. And I always feel that that theater practice makes this theater very effective. Because some of my plays had more than 500 to 600 shows. And that is another area of theater where we always fail to look at. And I'm practicing this parallel theater practices with amateur theatres. And here, actually, so all the time I am a theater student, and I don't want to make very authentic statements on theater. Just I am trying to share my experiences, especially with the two plays I had done. One is Ilapuriyum Kalathoru Pularkalavela. It's a verse drama by Professor G. Shankarapilla. Some 5 or 6 songs were only there, and some of the scavengers find out something like a mask and trying to interact with them with that mask, and a whole lifespan is narrated through 6 little poems written by Shankarapilla. And this another play is Vellapokka, that is about the flood. That has been performed along with Kerala Sangeet Nada Academy, School of Drama, and some of the amateur groups around Thrissur. Both are something like more than the script we had crossed. That is why I selected both. Actors were in both plays, mostly School of Drama students, alumni, and research scholars. First, I have to just, for me, politics and activism makes theater fruitful. Like Raphael told, theater is the second cousin of politics, and that has been proved in Kerala also. Theater, second cousin of politics. That is, Kerala had a big history of political movements well associated with politics. And most of the time, this performance making, I am looking at it as a way to expand the language of performances. Performance had a very strict language from the classical period till till today also. We had this almost canon-like performances. And performance making is a process where we are expanding the language of existing performances. That is most of the time, as Keralam says in her book Theatre Semiotics, those and then have made here and now. And that is the process. We all know that. That is, and making things happen here and now is the peculiarity of theatre. So a sort of special narrative has been formed, has to be formed if you want a special way of communication. And if you are very keen on what you want to communicate, then so quite naturally you have to explore new ways of expressions in theater itself. That way, actually, I am looking at the new performances that has been coming out, and I look at performance making as an extension of devising theater, where the devising theater, I think, in our very childhood itself, we had seen children playing role plays. What they had seen with their father and mother, their teachers, their neighbors, officers, kitchen, household, everything they are enacting, taking a full freedom of the space. Space is the problem, and the site and the space, that itself, where the narrative is formed. So that freedom makes the performance making interesting. The performance making starts from there. Actually, I'm looking at it like that, where children takes enormous freedom, like that. Here, what I'm looking at, actors is the main thing. Once we say they are actors in a show, just now I'm making it common, like telling it is a show. If you're an actor, you are representing a character. But in a performance, it's an experiencing body is there. Experiencing body in the sense he is experiencing the society around him, the social factors, the cultural reality, the present world he is living. Then it's a historical body, not the character. It is the historical body. That means the body that had experience is performing. There is a shift from the actor character position to the performer. Then only it becomes a political act. So this making a political statement or a political act through theater, you need this performance making. Otherwise, you can stick on to all these traditional forms and make well-made plays, interpreting it, adapting it, what you call it. But here you are making a big leap. It's not the matter of making your self-expressions. I don't think that it's in the street plays everywhere. The space is the problem. Space is the narrative, and where this architecture becomes the language. Architecture becomes a language of the space. It is not only creating the environment for a performance, but rather the space you are selecting or the space you are making is what we call as the theater architecture. Maybe it proceeds well, not like that, but the respective space that you had selected to perform your play is the language, where the drafting of the performance starts. And today's subject, I am drafting a performance. So we will move to soon with is that the actor's body and architecture, or both are two different languages colliding together, confront together to make the meaning. So automatically the cultural facts, all this will come. And actually Tadashi Suzuki, we are talking about Suzuki method, and all in very later acting trainings, he says culture is the body. And sometimes we may have to understand it in a very Indian way and to develop actors training in that direction to make an Indian way of performance making. He says culture is the body. Actor's body is the culture. To make the whole body speak, even one keeps silent. Suzuki continues. To make the whole body speak, even one keeps silent. That is what Tadashi Suzuki told about the actor's body. And he had a long tradition of performance making from the traditional performances of his land. So this, from this, relocating the performances from very traditional playhouses and spaces to more innovative size. That's about the architecture and all those things. Relocating the performances. So why we want to relocate, relocating the space in the sense, the way you are, the space where you are making the performances. Even in the proscenium theater also, I think this relocation is possible. And some experience had happened in that direction also. So the effective way of relocating the performances from the traditional playhouses itself make the performance very new, and the constant interaction of actors with the space makes the performance more effective, where the character is very less important. Actor shifts his position from actor to performer, and such things happens, and that all things we will discuss later. So this is my primary feel about performance making, that is very new, and which is the most modern, if you can tell it, very modern. Because once you start devising a project, all these so-called hierarchies in the theater all will shatter. And first among the equals. That is what I like to call the traditional concept of director, designer, and everything like that. First among the equals. That is the democracy in the performance making. Otherwise, it is not performance making. If you stand as a director and you are asking your actors to do something, interact with the space, and all such rubbish will go. And even not the leader, you are only the first among the equals. That is all. In that position, actually, I am speaking about. That is the position. Not as the director or something like that. So is I think Sandeep can help me. Sandeep, shall we go to the first slide? Is Sandeep available?
Yes, yes, I've changed the slide.
Yeah, it is the first slide.
That is actually prepare a preliminary version of the public presentation exhibition. That seems to be the first duty of the man who is actually initiating the process. It is the initiation of the process only happens, and that is he has to make a clear thing of the prepare the preliminary version of a public presentation or exhibition. And after that, making that, he select, we'll go to the next slide. That is, select a person or group of people and bring them somewhere for a certain purpose. That purpose is in inverted commas. That purpose makes things very political. It's a political act actually, and most of the time in modern theater, what I am feeling is it's not a crazy business. The performance making is not a crazy business. Rather, it is an it is not that whatever you want you can do, but with a very particular goal, this creation happens. Not your fancy or craziness to a form, and you are making it. I don't think it is performance making. You can call it. I had no problem calling it, but for me it is not that. For me, that it is a very purpose is there. For that, you select a person or a group, and then to that particular space or to that particular architecture where things can happen, you make them happen. That is, then you go for the execution of the action. That action is not the draft. It is the space, and the purpose is the primary draft of a performance making. And then naturally, what happens is we had all had this character concept. Whenever we are addressing an issue in theater, usually we go for characters. Character is a mask where you can more truthful, I believe. If I am very directly and as I have to address an issue that needs a different kind of space for that. That should be more intimate, like that. So this a character in a play is identified, and you are deconstructing the character in a way that that character is becoming yourself, and you are not becoming the character, but rather the character is deconstructed in a way that you become the character. So sorry, the character becomes you. That reverse process happens. So you will start off with the character, caricature, mannerisms, and all. So that once you are very loud on what you have to say, you are shifting yourself from the character to yourself. So you are going back. So at the end of the process, you can become yourself, and you can make the play. So that for that reverse process, we will draft a character. So this preliminary sketch and all those things are just for a discussion. That is what I told you. You are the first among the equals. You are not devising a project. Okay, this happens here, and these are the things. Not like that. But rather, you are drafting this to start off with. That's all. For that, you will identify some characters, and these characters are deconstructed in a way that these characters will become yourself at the end. The reverse travel from character to the self happens, where at the end of the performance or the end show, you will be addressing the audience as yourself. So that you are acquiring the truth of the statements by that, by this reverse travel from character to the self of the performer. So this position also shifts. You become a performer, not an actor. That happens. So this is that for that purpose only. You are preparing a preliminary version of the action representing a character in a play. That is not to play, but to become yourself. Because it's a political act. Always I am in my mind a performance making process and performance that differs our traditional way of doing theater and whatever maybe drama or whatever you call it, is that performance making is a strict political act where you always confront with the power, establishment, and all those things, where sometimes you can't stand alone as yourself. So you are taking the association of the theater to express yourself. Then here, actually, this performance is a promise, a request. to audience. Sandeep, you will go for the next slide. So to draw the preliminary sketch, version, or plan of the fulfillment of a claim, promise, or request. That is, these are all very personal things. That means a claim. A claim is a personal thing. A promise is a personal thing. A request is a personal thing. From the public, the travel from the public to the private. But we are keeping the idea of your interaction with the society is kept, and you are traveling from the public to the private. So this public is actually the traditional way of theater making, where characters are representations and all those things. Sorry, means judge, like police, and all those things. From there, that is the public thing. From the public to the private, you are traveling. So this in this private, you are making promises, you are making claims, you are requesting the people. All these are very personal businesses. So from the public to the private, for this travel, you are making this draft, and for that the primary sketch has been made, and with the group and all those things. Then the next is these are all only the things that actually the first among the equals has to do. So he will be selecting the space, and where you are interacting with a group of people, that purpose makes things very political. From this public to the private travel, you are making the things ready. This public to private is from the character to actor, like that. So these things become a very political act. So next is the stage of the implementation. From this, we will make the draft of the proposal for the project, and we can discuss it at the meeting. By this discussing with the actors and all those things, a proposal for the project has been developed, and which is discussed at the meeting. And shall we go for the next slide, Sandeep? And this is the implementation stage, where the draft proposal for the project is, and that has been proceeded for the discussions. And we'll go for the next. So to write down a document for the first time, including the main points, but not all the details. So the next stage is the creation of the script or something like that. So there will be one line, or what we call it, to write down a document for the first time, and including the main points, but not all the details. And usually what happens is, I have seen in most of the performance making, suddenly this writing down the document slowly shifts to usual drama writing and all. It's not actually like that. It's in the form of a document writing. Documents are there for usually we had registering with the other party. It's an agreement on mutual understandings. That's the document. So here we are making a document. That means what are all the things has to be addressed. What are all those things that you have to discuss with the public and all those things. That is actually a document. You are not writing a fictional script, but you are making a document. A document which has to be referred throughout the performance and even after the performance. Why you are making it, what you are making it, and all those details are the prime importance in that documents, not these fictional factors. If you are going for the fiction again, Slowly it transferred to again the traditional way of making theater with some other elements, like the theatricality is the word as usually we use. Performance making is not the exploration of the optimum theatricality, but it is attaining the optimum political act, the possibilities of making a political act in its optimum sense, omni-political act. That is where actually we are traveling by making a performance making, not achieving highly theatrical things. Next, this writing a first version to be filled out and polished late, the creation of artistic pictures or diagrams. Then you are going for the creative part of it. Then you are writing for and sometimes pictures, diagrams, all those things. There will be there to guide your fellow members. Then this focuses on the creation. Shall we go for the next slide, Sandeep? No, not that. Sorry, back. Sandeep. Focuses on I think slide number 7 or something like that. Yes, it focuses on the creation of performance from the early stages of creative development through to final performance for an audience. Here, the main thing is the cultural and creative expressions. What is the role of actually culture in it, and cultural and creative expressions? And actually, we are made out of the society, and the culture. I had understood culture as a bunch of knowledge that has been kept to us by the pending generations, and we are keeping for the pending generations both. So it is science. Culture is science, not tradition. Culture is science. We have to follow only science. Not all these traditions, all those things. Only science has to be kept from that. So science is the culture. So this cultural and creative expressions never means digging in the past. It is not digging in the past. Rather, exploring what happens in our society, in our contemporary society, where we live, how we can interact with it, how far it is confronting with me. And all those things make the culture of the society. It is not going back to the roots, searching and all those things, unnecessarily wasting a lot of time. But it is purely engaging yourselves in finding out how the contemporary society that you are living now is interacting with you, confronting with you, how far it involves in the other lives of the people they are living around you, and all such things are the culture. That's the culture, not the past. So there is no need to go back to the past and digging, finding out, and that are all these. You are going down means you are getting fossils, not roots. We call it fossils, dead things. Fossils are valuable once you want to coal and petrol and all, not for theater. So you are going deep means you are getting a lot of valuable fossils. Searching fossil is not performance making. Sometimes theater can do that. So keeping his heritage and all those things. Otherwise, I think a performer never needs it. So he searches around him to find out the culture, not going down to find out the fossils and identifying himself with the fossils. That is That has been actually because of this, all this such research and all. What happened is majorly Hindu theater become Indian theater. That's all. National theater means what has been happened in Hindu theater. That has been happened only in India. That is what had happened. Not finding out what the land needs through theater communication, and rather it is exploring a way of or establishing a Hindu theater, predominant Hindu theater as national theater. That is what happened only in those periods. So again, once we become more modern and trying to explore theater in another way by performance making, again, there is no need of going back to these fossils and finding out. But that is what I mean by cultural and creative expressions. And the creative expressions, we need all those things because mostly we need science, we need technology, and those things had a very, very big role in because without technology, there is no need of responsive to the contemporary culture. Contemporary culture and has to engage present technologies in it. We have to engage the present technology and the theater to be responsive to the contemporary culture. Contemporary culture, I mean by this cultural and the creative expressions. So from that, we are finding out the creative expressions. So sometimes that is why very modern technology, including digital technology, comes to the performance making, not those traditional things. So that's there comes the space for modern technology in performance making, for these creative expressions of the culture that is prevalent around us. So to denote or to make that culture happen, we need this technology because this technology has got a lot of things to do in our contemporary life creation of the culture. So contemporary life culture is made through a technology assisted life in all spheres. So that for that creative expression, we need all these technologies, all these coming together. So that is what I mean the cultural and creative. That is the focus on the creation of performance from the early stages of creative development to the final performance. What we are making a track record of the cultural and creative expressions. How far we are making the performance and how far it is culturally related and creative. That track making marking happens. Shall we go for the next slide? It emphasizes the hybrid quality of theater. Hybrid quality of theater, various elements like objects, sound, text, actor's body come together in a designated space and time. Here this, I'm talking about the actor's body previously. And this actor's body become a political body. Political body, or we can call it as the experiencing body. Experiencing body. It is not separated from himself. His body is separated from himself and he goes for another character creation is what happens in our traditional theater making. But performance making frees the actor. He freed the actor from the character clutches. And his body, this experiencing body, or whatever may be the social, cultural reality, all of the present body, that's a historical body. Experiencing body. I like to call it as experiencing body. That body experiences everything around him. So that is from the shift from actor to performer, and all those things happens. And this that is what I actually mean by actor's body. Then sound, text, all this come together in a designated space That is very important. That designated space and time. So what is this space? And that is where I was telling that architecture itself is a language. In the very beginning, I was telling this architecture is a language. It is not. That is why proscenium is a language. Proscenium is the most performer-centered, power-structured communication spaces. So architecture has got a language. So this designated space, the politics of the designated space is also identified along with time and all those things. So here, then what happens is a sort of meaning making. Meaning making happens. Meaning making is because here the relationship between one performer to other performer is also very political. It is not like what happens in a narrative fiction where one character is related to the other. But this relation is a very political relation as two independent performers with separate individuality and identity. So that is not the character's identity. If it is character's identity, this is king and this is soldier, like that. This is husband, this is wife, this is father, this is mother, like that relations. Here, it is two independent persons with all their existence and identity exploring their contemporary society. Here, the society around the person who is performing may also change. So this is this meaning making process is the most difficult point where rather than consensus, existence makes the substance. So here it is all those sort of hierarchies in traditional theater making or drama will shackle. It is non-hierarchy. Maximum position one can take is first among the equals. That is what I had been told in the beginning. In a performance making process, there is only first among the equals. So this hierarchy can be shackled. Means hierarchy itself can be deconstructed in a lot of ways. So there comes a sort of democracy. So learning through practice, and that makes the meaning-making process more effective, and this hierarchy will also break. Learning through practice to interact with the idea, other idea. Other performer is another idea. So you are interacting with one idea to the other idea. That makes the existence, and that makes the substance of the performance. Text, body, and space. And text, body, and space is the prime concerns for this meaning making and this shackling of the hierarchy and going for a non-hierarchical structure of communication, even in the performance also. Even in the performance also, it is not in the making process, but in the performance also. This hierarchy has to be broken, and how you will place the audience. Then once you are making a hybrid structure of theater, audience should be also placed in a more comfortable seat. Comfortable seat means that also you have to explore. Audience is sitting in a very traditional way, traditional audience, and your performance itself can't be modern. So audience make things happen. If there is no audience, then only this process drama will happen. The process will benefit the performance. That's no doubt. But the process of interaction or communication or sharing with the audience and all those things has to be that also happens in the designated space, and so a sort of non-hierarchical thing should happen. That is, text to body, space, and everything is utilized for this purpose. Then Sandeep, we'll go for the next. Traditionally, when it comes to theater, the script is very often privileged as the starting point for the process of making theater. So that usually happens in traditional way of theater or playmaking. What happens is the script become very often privileged as the starting point of the process of the theater making, where there is a concentrated idea where we are interpreting the idea or we are communicating the idea that has been here in a performance making. We are making the idea to be communicated. The text itself comes out of that. That is what the draft is actually. Draft is the text. That traditional way of text making, theater making, is replaced by the draft of the performance. So that is what I mean actually by drafting the performance. So from there, from the text as where we started in the traditional theater making, here from the draft, we start making the theater. So hybrid nature of theater requires a specific set of collaborative skills where all the various aspects of theater are brought together in a non-hierarchical structure. That we had already made discussions on that. So this, even in collaborations also, where this sometimes in the theater usually is at like that, even in talking about the technical designs that has been involved in traditional theater making, we'll tell set design, then light, music, like that. Even in telling it itself, there is a hierarchy stance. We will never say property. Then we won't. I like that. We won't start off it. We'll start with set, light, music. Like that, it goes. That is also a hierarchical placement of the technical designs. Actually, this whole things will happen. There is no hierarchy. It automatically emerges out, automatically comes out from a lot of discussions and like that. So all this together, whether it is digital technology, whatever may be it, in a performance making, it is the liberation of the artist to create themselves. For that, actually, the draft has been made. That is what the hybrid nature of theater requires, a specific set of collaborative skills. Actually, the actor training, director training, design training, everything has to be molded in a very separate way to develop the collaborative skills. Collaboration is different from discussions and finalizing a set. Collaboration is another thing. Sometimes we may be following another artist for a long time, and then only we can collaborate with it. So that process, sometimes most of you are, because theater practitioners, you all know that. Collaboration is different from making a design and how fruitful discussions and finalizing a set is not collaboration. It is creative collaboration of various aspects of theater, and this brokening or shackling of the hierarchy is the main thing, even in technical designs also. That is the main thing. And Sandeep, shall we go for the next slide? Sandeep. And this is the final. Audience can make meaning of what they are watching. That is very important. That is the most prime thing. Prime thing in performance making. Audience can make meaning of what they are watching. So the whole hierarchy shackles that it is complete democracy, where actor, performer is not the commandant of the thing. There is no chieftains. It's a complete democratic space where only creative collaborations happen. Where performer is the audience can render what the meaning they are identifying in the performance. That meaning rendering is very important in a performance making. And actually, I have to. These are all the things I have to tell actually about drafting a performance. And the next some few slides are about how I started with a production of Ilavodiyam Kalathur Pularkalavela, and where I had actually the draft, how I made the draft. That is the thing. Actually, it is that production I had with School of Drama students and School of Drama research scholars and all. It is performed in a festival first time, Professor G. Shankarapalla Theatre Festival, and I had been invited to do the play, and our fellow colleagues are kind enough to allow me to do it in School of Drama, and we had performed Ilavodiyam Kalathur Pularkalavela there. And Sandeep, shall we see that next slide? That pictures. Yes. This is a usual picture where Narendra Modi is cross-checking the ammunitions brought by India from that flights from France and all those things. That every leader will do, because India is paying a lot of money for this thing. And he goes there, he personally checks it. But there are some 7 or 8 pictures in this. This actually irritated me. I don't know why it is, but this is actually, if you are very properly looking at this, is being the chieftain of India, Prime Minister of India. It is his duty to directly go and identify how powerful, how efficient these weapons purchased by India and all those things. He can do that, and he had done it. Some photos. Shall we see the next one, Sandeep? Yes. This is a painting of Gandhi shot dead. This is a painting by a painter, and somehow this is also created a lot of curiosity in me. Sandeep, shall we go for the next? This is something, it is roughly like, this is a sketch that I had seen. And this is later redrawn by one of my students, but complete fire, tree, and farmers suicided with keeping all these rice in their hands and all, paddy in their hands. Shall we see the next one? Next one, Sandeep. This is not I have seen, but I had heard in my earlyhood that when Mahabharata war is going on, Duryodhana, in the last, before starting of the last war, last day, he went inside a molecule of water and went for this tapas. And everybody is searching for him. And last they have seen the sound of breath and identified that Duryodhana was there, and he has been pulled out of it, and the war continued and he died. So that when I heard this story in my childhood itself, it was a very interesting thing for me. And during this period only, I had some association with this Breath by Samuel Beckett, which is considered to be the shortest play. That's the story of 3 breaths. I think you all had read it, the shortest play. So all these things together was in my mind. So this Ilavodiyam Kalathur Pularkalavela is not a complete script. It is digging the past or something like that. Scavenger is finding out a mask-like thing and trying to interact with it. And his past is revealed through the mask. That's all. So some 6 songs are there. Something looks like an incomplete script by Shankarapalla. Then this is where we had started off discussions and interacting with the students. from there, actually, this is something like a 4 drawings or something. Sometimes maybe 4 installations or something like that. That can be there. From there, this discussion started, and this is the way I had. This is my draft actually. Then I find out a space in the school premises itself, and I had a short video of it, an edited version of it. Sandeep, shall we see that? Ilavadiyam Kalathoru Pularkalavela. That video.
Okay.
Became concerned that the American military not be seen as unnecessarily brutal. It's quote shooting, fleeing.
Officials and an important assembly of guests, Mr. Mayor was duly presented with the
Lord Mayor, Your Excellencies, Prime Ministers of the Commonwealth, my lords, ladies and gentlemen.
എന്തെല്ലാം ഭ്രാന്തുകൾ ഹിന്ദുവും മുസ്ലിമും ഒന്നെന്ന കണ്ണുകൾ കണ്ടു.
എല്ലാവരും കൂടെ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. മതം കാണാൻ മുഴുവൻ പ്രേക്ഷകർക്കും ഞങ്ങൾ നന്ദി പറയുന്നു. ഇപ്പോഴെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ സംസാരിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരിക്കലും സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ള ബോധ്യത്തിൽ നിന്നാണ് നാടകം ഉണ്ടായത്. നന്ദി.
And this is how we had transferred those 4 or 5 what we call it, illustrations or whatever it is, that has been made as a draft. Then that performance space has been selected, where we had a detailed interaction with students, and it became a nearly 1 hour 20 minutes production. And this become a very, I feel it as a very political rendering. Even though I'm not very particular about the very contemporary politics, but last when these actors were creating their movements, and there have been only very rough things like I am most of the time I was working on making the technical things, rather these actors find out the things collectively. Usually that happens, assisting the actors to make the performance. And this is one way I have been this is my very recent production that I have been worked with actors. And when I say it is political, that may not necessarily mean what we are experiencing in our contemporary politics. I mean the politics as the very traditional saying, the relationship between I and you. That has been defined as politics in the early Greek period itself. It's the relationship between I and you. That is the thing. So we had another devising project that is strictly done in a proscenium theater actually. That is after that flood had infected Kerala very badly. It infected Kerala. There was a total financial disaster. Many people died. Around 20 days, Kerala has been complete lock. No movement. Even there were a lot of people were dying, diseases, no food. Most of the homes were disaster. The sea was very furious. After that, there is a regenerating process was there. So this Sangeet Nada Academy had a project that they made this performance. For that, actually, School of Drama took the initiation, and a lot of the amateur theatre groups around Thrissur. Some of the alumni also participated, and it's a complete. They were scripts were made by the group. Even lighting has been designed by the but it is a strictly theatrical one. Most of the performance making process was adopted, and I think that also includes actually what I mean by performance making. It's a political act like that. That's why I had been added a short bit, or not a 2-minute video of the same thing. Sandeep, shall we see the next one? Sandeep?
Give me 1 second.
Okay. And we had only 2 or 3 performances of these things, of this performance actually. This as part of a lot of things. Sahitya Academy published a book, and Lalita Academy was arranging a big exhibition on flood and all those things. So we were collaborated in this project, School of Drama. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Sandeep. Actually, for this, we had adapted one script that has been published in one monthly Madhurabhumi here in Kerala. I mean that one beggar and God also has been get trapped in a small island-like structure where this lot of the flood is happening around. And their discourses were there that found very interesting. And most of the actors, even School of Drama faculty, were frontline workers of that flood. Sunil, everybody was there. And these most of the actors were also volunteers of this flood relief things. And the scriptwriters were members of the relief camps in Kayangulam and Alappuzha, led by T.V. Balakrishnan. 6 people together wrote framed the text. Then around Thrissur, School of Drama students, official academies, everything. It's actually a government project. So government projects also can be political, that I meant. And that way actually this came. The breaking proscenium is one thing, and once you have to tell something in a very different way, sometimes proscenium is the most provided space by power, because they can always have their censorship on the productions. By putting a curtain, the whole thing can be stopped. But once you are performing outside, it's not possible. Sometimes the performance will continue in extended spaces of the selected space. But here, by putting a curtain, the whole thing can be stopped. So that is why always power depends on proscenium productions, the most safest things. And sometimes we have to enter into such arenas and do our productions. And actually, these are all my what we call it experiences, and what I try to understand as performance making. And I'm stopping here. Somebody want to interact? If possible, I will answer. That's all, because I'm not such an expert in performance making and all. Performance making is a new thing, and I am as a theater student, I am interested in it. I'm doing it. I'm not an authority in performance making, but we will try to have dialogues if you are interested. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shibu sir. Actually, thank you so much for sharing your insights into the politics and making the whole performance or whatever, maybe theater. It is very interesting because, as I just mentioned, it is a lot of your personal insights and ideas you are sharing, and it is at the same time thought-provoking too. Thank you so much. Now we will open the session for question answer or discussion or adding something. So anyone can start. I found some. I saw fewer raised hands during the session. They can start right now. Otherwise, you can put the questions in the chat box. It's open. There is question from Saikat Ghosh. Shiv sir, can you read it or shall I read for you?
Sunil, can you read it for me?
Yeah.
Because I am on mobile.
I am Saikat from West Bengal. I have a question. What is the future of political theatre in India? Where fascist forces are emerging across the country, we are playing on larger scale, filled with more romantic illusions, where ordinary working people have nothing to do. If you elaborate on this, I think you got it.
Actually, yeah, I got it. In 1975 period, I think in French, there was a philosophy, society of spectacles, that I also always keep in mind while I am doing theater. That is how Deborg is a French situationist philosopher. Society of spectacle. How this new capitalist forces make a society going behind big spectacles, and spectacles stuns you really, and that is making things bigger so that you can never see an issue in its wholeness. They have adopted the graffiti by Greek Negroes, their Negro art. Actually, they had adopted it and they made it white graffiti. Like that, even tap dance and all those things, you know. So how it is, that is a society of spectacle. Actually, I found that in from 1990 when this export-import policy has been changed. It's not only this Chinese toys and all those things come to India cheaply, but most of our actors acting everything. Theatre culture also has been exported very cheaply. So it become a very cheaper business, cultural transactions. And all those things happen. So suddenly we have to satisfy the capitalist forces. That is why you are going behind big things and communicating nothing. That's actually capitalist theater. Capitalist ideology has been cooked for them. That happens around us, and just we all know that our government is supporting it. So they become the ideal productions of Indian theater. On that ground only we are standing now. It is very pity that instead of making big, finding to identify the deeper things, or we will call it a sushma, very detailed viewing of an issue, we go for such ballooning. So nothing happens. Instead, you will be get astonished. Oh, wonderful, great, such things, big space, that and all those things, but nothing happens. Audience goes like they are going for a carnival or a festival and go back home. That is the tragedy. That is what now happening in Indian theatre, and there comes the relevance of the political theatre, where political theatre stands differently, making big to make the issue big. That is the thing. You should be confident enough to do things, and you will be missing a lot of things. There is no place for a compromise politics in between. Then instead of going for this compromising politics, that means in a sense we are very hidden and you are supporting that, you are against that, something like that, you can go for all those so-called soap operas, no problem. So when you are doing political theater, you should be stand straight, tell things direct, and for that you have to make things big, to make big statements. That is happening in Indian theater, and all this once you are against the power, you will get succumbed. That is all. Once you are doing political theater, you will get succumbed. You should be able to, or you will be courage enough to face it also. That is all. So I know there are a lot of people, they are confidently doing political theater. Even as an institution, School of Drama, Thrissur has got a very great political stand. I believe most of even the students' productions happening there are very political now. That is moving in a very great direction with very focus. And a particular idiom of making political theatre is happening. As far as my experience there in School of Drama and observing productions, all these things were gone out, and they are very political. Students are very political. Students' politics productions are very political. And that as an institution, I feel that it happens there. It's not behind all these establishments. So it's not the future actually. It is the duty of every theater worker to be political. That I believe.
Yeah, Shivu sir, there is another question from Sri Ramanan. Can I read?
Yeah, because I can't read it.
What happens to politics when it takes the form of theater? How has theater both exploited and undermined politics both in society and on the stage? Shall I repeat?
It is not clear for me.
What happens to politics when it takes the form of theater?
Yeah, that's what I had told. Actually, it is the second cousin. So that's the relationship between politics and activism, or theater is the second cousin of politics. That is what I told. Like that much a relationship is there. Politics, I mean, it is in the true sense, not what we are practicing outside. Being a extreme leftist or a complete support of the leftists, you may have got a lot of disagreements with them. So that may also come through your theater like that. But without politics, theater is catering to the entertainment value, and that is one part of the performance only. So I feel personally that theater is for social change. Society needs theater then only. That's why I always said that in the post-COVID session, we will go for this applied theater and all those things. Because people should need, the theater should develop as a branch of science. Where people need theater. Here now we are only telling that after COVID there is no show, no performance, but people are not bothered about it because it is not directly anywhere related with them. So we have to find out theater as a science, which is very much related to people living. So political theater is one way where the artist takes the role of a social critic. That social criticism is very much needed. How to take political stance, a detailed analysis. It should evoke discussions in the society, dialogues between the audience coming to see the productions. Aristotle and all try to initiate it. Sometimes we have to take it in another step and proceed. Both are cousins. That way only I used to approach theater. So theater is the second cousin of politics.
Yes, thank you for that. Another question from Meta Misra. Sir, please share your feel on politics on multilingual production, linguistic productions. Your feel or politics
okay.
or feel or politics on multilinguistic productions.
Yeah. For me, there is one thing is that language. Language is one among the very deepest identity of an ethnic group. So that much language has to do in it. So multilingual in the sense, if you are that depends on the issue that you are treating in a performance. Even in the elections also, or during in Kerala, all these street play elections, in most of the street plays, this speech of our Prime Minister comes in Hindi itself. So Hindi everybody knows because that needs there. And Kamala Hassan comes with telling Tamil, Karnanidhi, and such. Multilingual is how the issue is treated in the play. If it demands for a multilingual thing, you can move for that. Or if it is a universal thing, you can go using English as a universal thing. But language is the identity of the primary identity of an ethnic group. So multilingual, I don't have any problems. But most of the time, I had problems with rendering human body as universal body and all such things. I have some disopinions. That is all. But this language, if you want to treat things like that, then it's good. No problem, because that character speaks in a particular language, communicates a particular thing, then it's okay. Like that, I look at this multilingual production.
So, Jyotirmay Kurup, dear Mash, could you elaborate the shift happening from a character in a play to an could you elaborate the shift happening from a character in a play to an actor who is getting to perform the idea of public space to a private space?
Yeah. Sometimes I may not be able to tell it, but an actor can feel it, how he is shifting from the position of an actor to a performer. I had experienced it. Experienced it means even that Ilapozhiyam Kalam also, that man who comes out from the water is Biresh. And there were a lot of discussions about what character actually it is. But going behind most of the things, the thing goes back to himself. But he identifies a lot of character, like all those cuts and wounds on his body and all those things. Like that, that is a personal process. Actually, I don't know how to put it in words and all. That is a process. That is the process of performance making. That I had experienced many times. I don't know how to put it in words. As an actor also, I had experienced that. As a director also, I had experienced. Especially while I am in Tamil Nadu and doing Dalit theatre practices along with Viva and all, I had experience as an actor. How you can travel from a character to a performer, actor to performer. And here, while I am doing plays, I had experienced it. And that is my prime aim as the first among the equals is that. That's all I can tell about.
Can I go to the next question?
Yeah.
It is Praveen Raj. Sir, can you tell us about PM Antony's theatrical efforts and the political theatre of the time in Kerala, especially ക്രിസ്തുവിന്റെ ആറാം തിരുമുറിവ് നാടകയാത്ര
Yeah, actually, I don't know what he meant by that. That is considered to be one among the most highlighted political plays, especially about the performing art law that has been established by British government and later followed by Indian government, and there were a lot of discussions happened. It is against the diocese of Thrissur actually, and PM Antony last won the case, and it is the first time I think in Kerala a play has been performed before the court for making a sentence on that and all those things. It's rather than political contemporary social political thing, it actually looks at how far these Semitic religions are exploiting their religious followers. So actually the irk happened in that power consuming Christian society. Not with all those other Christians. They are ready to accept Christ as a normal human being with the dreams and passions. That is more comfortable for us to believe as a God. But these power enjoying people are not like that. And other works by PM Antony also has to be, because of his last cycle yatra. He has to this form this PM that display and all those things. He had this travel and all those things. That is also going for, that is actually about the farmers' problem, loan and all those things, especially against IMF and all those such things. The PM Antony had a long way of travel across Kerala through cycles, and he had performed it. Cycle and that I think that was his last venture. And PM Antony considers to be one among the stalwarts of political theatre practice in Kerala, especially in the 80s and all, the post-independence period.
So next question is from Shubhi Tiwari. Sir, you said that the audience makes meaning of the performance, but conventionally, is not meaning also served to the audience almost on a platter guided by the director's vision? Just curious to know your thoughts on this basic idea, if you could elaborate.
No, it's actually, it's two practices. One is the traditional way of doing theater, where we select a text or something like that. Then the director, he is the captain of the ship. He makes the whole thing happen. And he interprets the text, he transfers it to actor, and they are doing it like that. It's not a wrong way. But here, in a performance making, more democracy is achieved for more free creation or free expression. Things become more political because here what happens is, what I felt is the director is the decision maker. Everything ends in director. Even when audience also look at the director, that's the tragedy most of the time happens. They are not looking at the play. They are looking at the play from the eyes of the director. That can be overcome by performance making performances. Both are there. One is the traditional way of making theater. Sometimes that may be more effective if you feel you can do that. Because it is not the right or wrong actually. It is for express a particular idea which you want, that you select. Sometimes you want to be more radical on communication or some issues. Sometimes you will be performing. I am a man who is doing professional theatres in Kerala. Once I feel that I have to do it, I will do that. That's also very important for me. One of my plays, Sadhanthichil Murugal, had around 600 shows in Kerala. That's very important for me. Very important for me. Yeah. And this Ilabodiyan Kalani is also in other way very important for me. So that's not between right or wrong. But it is between what actually makes you do the theater. That's all the thing. Do that particular piece of work. I think there is no mishihas for a particular shan. That is actually this all these power people, especially they will decide who is national, international. That politics comes in. So once they want they never to be questioned. They make some people doing something and they say that they are international. I will look at things that silly.
Thank you, Shiv sir. I think the questions are done. So it is time to wind up the session. I have an information for all participants. From today, anyone from the participants should do the formal word of thanks. Today, I am just inviting as a beginning Jyotirmayi. I think Jyotirmayi is there because Jyotirmayi is the research student of Shibu sir. And from tomorrow, someone will just put the name in the chat box during the session. And we will provide the details of session by the morning itself, how we start at 7 o'clock. And again, there are another news for everyone. We are releasing the previous day's talk in YouTube. So anyone miss a part or the session, they can watch it from the YouTube. Thank you all of you. I hereby invite Jyotirmayi for formal word of thanks.
Thank you, sir, for allowing me to have a word. It was really an inciting time for me too, because I missed last 2 days session because I had some other classes to attend. Thank you so much, Shibu Maharaj, for going deep into the research and the process of putting into practice and into performances. And it was really an amazing session for me, and I hope it was the same for all of us in the session. And thank you so much, our department, for making these days of classes and making happen that in this difficult time. Thank you all for being here, and thank you so much. Thank you.